as you know, I'm so passionate about helping veterans and specifically to end homelessness in the veteran community forever and really help them with affordable housing. This has been a passion I've had since I was a little girl, really. This is Brett Miller. So, Brett, I was hoping you would share a little bit about your background and, of course, why you're so passionate about helping veterans.
Welcome to the Jennifer J. Hammond Podcast. Jennifer is a licensed realtor, educator, speaker, and best-selling author. Jennifer's goal is to help you find your yay in every day.
Hello. This is Jennifer J. Hammond. I'm so excited. I have Brett Miller here today. What an amazing guest we have. And as you know, I'm so passionate about helping veterans and specifically to end homelessness in the veteran community forever and really help them with affordable housing. This has been a passion I've had since I was a little girl, really. And if you don't know my story, you can definitely go check out my book on Amazon. And I don't make any money from it. All I do is try to find resources for veterans. But this is Brett Miller. So Brett, I was hoping you would share a little bit about your background and, of course, why you're so passionate about helping veterans.
Well, Jennifer, thank you very much. And thank you for doing this interview. I was an Army officer. I flew helicopters for a few years. And it was a passion of mine to protect and defend our country. So when I left the military, I didn't leave that passion behind. And I've had a nice career in the corporate world. I'm a management consultant by training. But starting in about 2006, I re-engaged with the veterans community, working on a project to help those who had been exposed to toxins in the environment. And we spent 7 years putting together a variety of programs that culminated in a peer-reviewed study published in a couple of journals, one of them the Military Science Journal, documenting a sauna-based therapy as a treatment modality for Gulf War illness.
Yay!
A number of guys I served with. Yeah, it's really kind of exciting. It really opens the door because there is no other known treatment for this package of symptoms that we call Gulf War illness. So I was thoroughly engaged in the veteran community at that point and was fortunate enough to be part of a founding board established by the VA back in 2015 called the Community Veterans Engagement Board. These were created nationally around all of the VA healthcare centers. Our board here in Pinellas County, Florida, was one of the first 10 in the United States. Our job basically is to improve outcomes for veterans. Very broad mandate. Initially, we settled on creating a resource guide, partnering with county government and other organizations, assembling all of the local resources together in one form. I'm happy about that too. Thank you for that enthusiasm.
Well, and I know because I did that resource guide nationwide and it's a huge undertaking. Oh my gosh. So well done. Very well done on that.
Thank you. It's the nature of the nonprofit world where folks keep their heads down and they're focused on their primary mission and they don't worry too much about who's on the block next door doing exactly the same thing. So our role as a coordinating body working with the VA was to assemble community leaders from each of the areas that the VA operates in. Housing and homelessness is definitely one of those areas, along with healthcare and services and benefits and memorials and those sorts of things. Employment and education opportunities is also a big one. So we've assembled this group of 16 community leaders that meet with the CEO of the healthcare system, the CEO of the benefits administration. We even have a national cemetery here. It's kind of a unique situation. We're blessed in that regards. There are over 90,000 veterans in this county alone, approximately 10% of the population here. So we meet monthly. We focus on building collaborations in the community. A couple of quick ones that you may be interested in. Food insecurity is a very hot topic right now. It goes hand in glove with homelessness and housing affordability. We set up a partnership between the VA and Feeding Tampa Bay, a chapter of Feeding America, the largest nonprofit in the U.S. that provides food to food insecure families. The VA provides medical doctors to provide nutritional counseling, and they help the families that come in. A lot of them are diabetic or pre-diabetic, so they get fresh fruit and vegetables from Feeding Tampa Bay, along with health advice. And so about half the folks that engage in this program leave the program because they now learn how to shop, they learn how to eat, they learn how to take better care of themselves. We're very excited about that partnership.
That's beautiful, because that's skills that they can go forward with. It's not just, like they say, it's not just the handout, it's a hand up. It's the actually teaching someone how to help themselves, and not just always look for a handout, which I know is something that most, especially veterans, are very proud, and they don't even like to put their hand out and ask for help, even though they might need it. So that's a fantastic program.
You soothe truth when you say that. Many of us, we serve in the military because we have this purpose to defend freedom and fight for our country. And then when we leave, we go from being part of a group where we have folks that we rely on and folks that rely on us. We have a hierarchy that we're comfortable in. We have an environment that's very structured. And we go from this environment of having this very high purpose and sense of duty to an environment where, one, it's very unstructured, obviously. The folks we interact with don't have the same level of values or responsibilities that we're accustomed to. And quite honestly, our purpose goes from defending freedom to paying a mortgage. And part of what we like to do with our veteran advocacy work is teach veterans how to live with civilians, quite frankly, and get them as part of a group again to maintain some of that group dynamic that they're so accustomed to.
And I think that is one of the things that I've observed as well, is that the loss of the community, the loss of even knowing that people are relying on you. And I mean, not only that you rely on them, other people that are in part of your group, but not having anybody else rely on you, it can make someone feel unimportant. And, I know people talk about this all the time, but as you know, the suicide rate in the veteran community is just astonishing. And when people don't feel like they're needed, that they're important, it's easy for people, unfortunately, to start to think that, I'm not part of any group anymore. And so it's very important to create that community and be a part and have people actually rely on you and know who you can turn to, and people that you can turn to, that you can rely on, that will actually show up and do what they say. Because of course, unfortunately, sometimes the other thing I've seen with veterans when they come out is that they think somebody they can rely on, and then they feel very betrayed because they didn't get what they were promised or what someone said that they would. And so it's very important to create that sense of community.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I'm glad you mentioned the suicide issue. We had the opportunity to host a meeting of the Prevents Task Force. Dr. Barbara Van Dalen, who chaired that group, brought her entire staff down, met with our engagement board back in 2020. This was a task force established by the President of the United States to find solutions to suicide. And our approach here has been to focus on early interventions, upstream interventions that would prevent a veteran from getting into a situation where they turn to drug and alcohol use, they feel hopeless, and they're ultimately in an acute situation. One of the things that we've done was establish a partnership between Bay Area Legal Services and the VA. So 2 days a week at the VA medical campus, we provide pro bono legal services to veterans. And about more than half are related to non-benefit related issues, housing issues, driver's license issues, you name it. And what we've seen from that experience, because it's now expanded into other counties and the state legislature has funded this type of thing statewide. It all started right here from our engagement board. Also in partnership with Stetson Law School, which we have right here.
Very nice.
We find, and we find that you fix these things early on. It's a great suicide prevention program because it doesn't lead downstream to all those other problems where you need the hotline that somebody is calling.
Right. And I love that. And especially that's also creating a sense of community with whatever your university is. And like you said, law schools, because they're right there. And in the law clinics, at least from the ones that I've talked to, even in the Washington, D.C. area, they love to be able to help veterans. So what a better way to create a partnership in a community where, and again, they're ultimately preventing suicide.
Yeah, exactly. And then employment is another piece of that as well. We work very closely with the local workforce development arm. It's called Career Source here locally. They have employees whose sole job it is to recruit businesses to hire veterans. One of the projects we established was to set up an office at the Coast Guard Naval Air Station located here in Pinellas County. It's the largest naval air station the Coast Guard has in the United States. And a problem with active duty military, because they move around so much, is spouse employment. And so we helped establish an office right on the air base to help transitioning Coast Guard members who are transitioning back into the civilian world, but also more importantly, to help spouses find jobs while their husbands or wives are deployed here.
That's very well done, because I know that that's also one, as you just said, it's one of the top issues for spouses and like nurses. I know that was an issue for a long time. A nurse could end up having to move from one area to the other and getting accreditation. But even the same thing, if the spouse is a real estate agent, you get to the new place and all of a sudden, oh no, I have to take all sorts of new tests and new this and new that. And you want to make sure you're competent in whatever new area you are in, but also there are solutions, and there are solutions that can be much easier. But sometimes we have to come together as a community with the lawmakers to make sure that that reflects an easy transition for whether it's the spouses, with the transition going out of the military, all of those things. So that's excellent, the programs you're working on.
Yeah. And you mentioned that homelessness and affordable housing was a key issue for you.
Yeah.
One of our members used to serve as the deputy director of housing down in St. Petersburg, and has been active with the Tropicana Field redevelopment project, where the Tampa Bay Rays play.
Yes. Yeah.
And he has convinced the decision makers that any new development that includes affordable housing, well, I should say it more accurately, will include affordable housing, and that some of those units will be designated specifically for veterans. Because as you know, this county has almost no land to develop that's natural land. It's all been built up. So affordable housing is a huge issue. But we are part of consortiums with Pinellas County Housing Authority, the different city housing authorities, specifically advocating for veteran housing.
That's fantastic. Again, that isn't something that is thought of. It's usually an afterthought after a development has been done. And then they're like, oh, we needed some more veteran housing, or they've done something for affording up housing, but it hasn't included veterans. So that's fantastic.
It's just part of our comprehensive approach to our very simple mandate of improving outcomes for veterans. And I should mention our excellent digital resource guide. There's a nonprofit group called the Coordinated Assistance Network. It was initially started as a financial counseling, pro bono financial counseling service to veterans, financed primarily by Metropolitan Life and the principal insurance companies. But it's grown into an amazing digital resource so that a veteran can enter their profile into this system and list out their needs. And it instantaneously marries that veteran up with those organizations digitally.
That's fantastic. I'm just so excited. When I first heard you talk about that, I was like, what? I think that has been needed and wanted for so long. And I have to say, for anybody who's listening to this in a different area, this is only for this area, though. It's not for the whole nation, right?
That's
or is it for
correct.
The whole nation?
The Coordinated Assistance Network has 2.6 million veterans already in their system in all 50 states and 3 other countries.
Wow, I had no idea. That is such good news. Wow. Oh my gosh. Tell people where they can go to find that particular resource. Yeah.
Yeah. So the URL is canportal.org, canportal.org. And as I said, it's a national platform. I recently connected this group up with the Los Angeles Veteran Collaborative. One of the largest groups of veterans anywhere in the United States is in the Southern California area. They found this system to be the best system they had looked at anywhere from anyone. It's very user-friendly. And as I said, if as an organization here locally, we got on the phone and we called every veteran support organization in the county and we plugged them into the system. There's over 165 in the system right now. So that if you're local and you say, I'm an Air Force veteran and I need housing assistance, only those organizations that have money to service Air Force veterans, as opposed to Army or Navy, that can provide housing assistance come up on your screen, and they instantaneously connect you with that organization. It's an amazing resource.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. And I just know, like you said about contacting every single one of them, that is a huge project to be able to get everybody and to get everybody to agree to it.
Yes, it is. But the other great thing about this system is that everybody in there is vetted. They are who they say they are. They get a verification email once a quarter, so that if you don't respond for a couple of months, they're out of the system. So you don't have phone numbers that don't get answered, and you don't have organizations not doing what they say they do.
See, I got to be honest. That was like when I did my book. I've done 2 versions of my resource guide, and I did everything we could. We got a whole team of people on it, and it was a lot of phone calls. But it was in print, and we kept talking about, gosh, we really want to have a digital version. And so what you're describing is exactly what I had always dreamed we could eventually have created. So I'm so excited to know that it did get created, because I know how much time and how many people it takes to get that together, and then to make sure it's digital. So like you said, so you're not getting the wrong phone number. They're actually verified. They are the right organization, whether you're an Air Force, whether you're Marine, and then whatever your need is. That is very powerful. Woo.
You are so validating. What a great post. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Because I'm learning that this is what you're doing. And I knew when I first met you that I was going to be so excited about all the things you're doing, because there's so often it's just not known. And just like meeting you and getting to know this, I didn't know this network existed. I want to go to the treetops and tell everybody about it, because it's so important to know that those resources are out there. And then, because again, to have a resource and then never have it used, what's the point? But what you've created, I can just know it took a lot of work to get it done, a lot of passion, a lot of persistence. So very well done. Gosh, I'm excited. Thank you for doing this, Brett.
Oh, thank you, Jennifer. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know if I mentioned it already, but the Veterans Experience Office from the Department of Veterans Affairs headquarters in Washington recently ran a nationwide competition to find successful actions that could be replicated across the country. Now, it wasn't limited to just engagement boards like ours. There are over 100 boards like ours that have been established, but this was open to any sort of veteran organization in the entire United States. Our engagement board was selected as one of the top 10 veteran support organizations in the entire United States. We were the only community veteran engagement board on the list. So we're very, very proud.
Yeah. Well, and I thank you for highlighting that, because you hadn't mentioned that. And that is something that's really important, is to understand that you are really doing what you're saying you're doing, and you're creating effective change. Because so often people talk, but then they don't do anything about it. And I gotta say, very well done. Wow.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It was funny. We hold meetings throughout the community from time to time, and one of them was with the director of the Florida Department of Veterans Affairs. They work with the state government. They run assisted living facilities across the state. They work on legislation. And at the end of the meeting, the director looked at us and he goes, I have to tell you guys, I'm amazed you get things done. It was like surprising to him.
Well, it's true, because there's so many times where I've seen somebody who promises a lot of things, and then when I go check in on it, it's not there. And I'm like, it's just, again, like I said earlier, I hinted about veterans, unfortunately, have been promised a lot of times things, and then they don't actually, people break their promise. And that is a betrayal. It's a deep wound, at least from what I have, from the conversations I've had with veterans. So knowing that you've created things, but you've had solutions that are very workable, and that you're actually doing what you said you were going to do. And that's why that's why the Community Veterans Engagement Board, you're the one here in Pinellas County, is one of the top 10 in the nation. But I also don't want to forget, before we run out of time, I want to make sure that we talk about the future. And particularly, we talked a little bit about having community leaders and churches all over the world coming together to help and support veterans. Will you talk a little bit about what's the future?
Oh, thank you so much for asking that. This is a personal passion project of mine. I've had the fortune of traveling a lot around the world. I've met a lot of really good people from all over the world. And I've been able to assemble a network of churches from countries around the world. I've taken this experience from the Community Veterans Engagement Board. I partnered with a former U.S. Army Ranger in Los Angeles, actually, and we formed a nonprofit group called the Veterans Freedom Corps that we're building into an international veterans organization. Our purposes are very straightforward. We want to help veterans, and we want to mobilize these veterans to then better their communities. It's a purpose we all have, was to better our communities. And it doesn't matter what country you're from. If you've served in the military of that country, you have a shared reality. In some cases, you have a shared pain. Our group has a variety of counseling techniques and programs available to it. And we feel like we can help veterans all over the world kind of keep the good from the past and let the bad fall away. So you have that experience and you still have the purpose, and you have a group to help you accomplish that purpose in life. And so we're convening an international conference in Aruba in September for the Veterans Freedom Corps to launch this international effort. And I'm personally very excited about it. Thank you for asking.
Well, I'm excited, and we'll have to definitely have you back on to talk about what's happening next and just the updates, because it's such good news, and we all need the good news. So, but before I go, let's make sure that people know. So if people wanted to find out more, what would you recommend? The canportal.org, or what would you suggest?
Yeah, I think if you're a veteran or a family member of a veteran, and you'd like to help them connect with resources, the CAN Portal, the Coordinated Assistance Network, is a great resource. So the URL is canportal.org. It takes just a couple of minutes to put your profile in, and then you're off and running. As we evolve and create the future, freedomcorps.org is our website for that organization. Again, it's separate from the Community Veteran Engagement Board, but we have great hopes for that international organization as we move forward.
Well, again, we're going to have you back on to get the good news and the next update. But as you know, as I go off the air, I love to have you raise your voice and say yay with me. Will you do that?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. 3, 2, 1. Yay!
Yay!
Hi, I'm Jack Kent.